So, and then of course, after that, what is it? I guess it's 12, maybe 16 bars after that, where it does a series of offbeat stuff and all kinds of opening and closing. That was really difficult to learn, and is still difficult to execute correctly, and I rarely see anyone doing it correctly. But eventually I'm going to try and do a breakdown of the entire LVS, so I'll go through that in detail then. But anyway, I'm just trying to show you some little things that are difficult when you first try and look at them, and some tips for learning how to play them and remember them is more important. Because it's one thing, to cop a lick, but if you can't remember when to play it and how to play it and make it musical and integrate into the rest of the song, then it really doesn't work, so to speak. Alright, so now let's get into some specific reasons why a certain song might be difficult to play. The way I learned the drums was mostly from playing along to records, but instead of just doing that, I really tried to study what I was doing and I really didn't want to play it wrong. So I remember after playing for maybe, 6 months, I tried to play Limelight, or Red Barchetta, because it's my favorite Rush song. And it always has been, ever since I've heard it for the first time. But I remember trying to play the little chugga-chugga beat that I call it. And I just couldn't get it in sync. I couldn't get the flam and the foot to move that fast and get it to sound jugga 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 jugga. And I was really, really frustrated, and I thought, well, how can I get this to sound right? And so I turned off the music and I just started, I thought, okay, if I go slowly and just try and speed it up gradually, eventually I'll get to the point of how fast it is in the song. So it's like, I just kept trying to do that, and then one day I was playing the song, maybe a couple of weeks later, and all of a sudden it was like an epiphany, and I played it right. And I thought, oh, well, that's cool. Now I know, not only, obviously, when you see someone or hear someone else play something, you know it's got to be physically possible. The guy played it. But second of all, it reaffirmed in my mind that if I set my mind to something and strive with the correct regimen of learning, I can learn pretty much anything I set my mind to. And so it was a positive affirmation that my my rationale and my algorithm, if you want to call it that, for learning something was working. And so after that, I used a very similar technique to learn anything else that I wanted to learn. So that is, I broke it down, I looked at it, what it was supposed to be, how it was played, how to play it, and then how to play it. And then put it back into the tune so it sounds flawless and seamless and effortless with the rest of the song. So that's the challenge that I find even to this day when learning or even trying to remember a song. I was replaying Warpaint yesterday because somebody requested it, I think. And there's just a really cool fill. It goes. Something like that. I mean, it goes. I think that's it. And I remember sitting in the car This is before, well before MP3s and everything like that, when Presto came out, and I was like, well, what the hell is that? And I was just rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, play. I bet you I played it for half an hour like that. I must have listened to it 50 times. And I'd play along on the steering wheel, you know, and then I lost my track after, 15 hits or whatever. And then eventually I figured it out. I think, okay, I think I got it. So when I went home that night, I put on the track, and lo and behold, I did have it, and I could play it. And so yesterday when I was replaying it, the first time through, I was like, oh shit, that fill's coming up, Can I remember it? And my mind went back to that day in the car when I was hitting rewind, fast forward, and it came through, and it came out, and while the music was playing, it just flowed out, and I knew that it was weird because I had to hit the tom off beat, and then like a cymbal, and then I'd do a weird roll. So in those cases, that whole fill just becomes a thing in itself, so that it's a piece of music. It's not that I'm thinking, okay, well, I got to do a triplet here, and then 2 toms with my right, and then a tom with my left, and then hit this, and then quickly hit the cymbal off beat, and then do 1 tom, and then do a wicked 7-stroke or something like that. Whatever it is that I'm playing. I no longer have to think in those terms because I've already broken it down and then put it back together. So that's what you need to do is, when you're playing something difficult, you need to break it down and figure out what it is you're playing, and then figure out how to play that, so you no longer have to figure out what it is he's playing, or they're playing, or whoever the drummer is that you're listening to. So, give you a couple more examples. In Lakeside Park, there's 2 things in that at the time I got into that album, it was quite early, like 81, 82, when I first even thought about starting to even try and play the drums, and it was 7 years later that I ever picked up a pair of sticks. But when I did, for some reason on that album, Neil decided to do something, which is, I think it's kind of a 70s thing, but it's also unique to Neil, in the way he did it. And what it was he kind of turned his right foot and his right hand upside down. So while he's playing 8th notes, like, and things like that, he's playing more notes on his right foot than he is on his right hand. Like faster notes, I should say, doubles and things like that. And at the time I first tried to play it, my coordination, I couldn't play. I could play more notes on my hand than my foot, but playing anything like that was just like mind-bending. So there's that, and while that might seem elementary to anybody who's had more than 5 drum lessons, to someone who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and myself, when I was trying to play it and I didn't have any drum lessons, it was difficult, and I had to figure out a way of learning how to do that. So I did it slowly, and then I gradually got up to the speed of the record, and then I figured out how to separate my right brain or my left brain into 2 pieces and do both things. So there's that little thing, and then there's one deal breaker in that song, and that's the fives. So it's 5 small rest, 5 small rest, 5 small rest, 5 small rest, 6 crash. Okay, so it's like you know the part. Again, I'm not going to try and execute it without the music because it's going to interrupt the tape, and I'll probably have to do it a few times, and then I'll have to edit it and whatever.